Alright, I'm a little late to the game here. Some other great creators have already been making content on this since it was released about a month ago, but I just started jumping in to Low Fuel Motorsport's new Assetto Corsa content, and have been having an absolute frickin' blast with it. So I just wanted to share this with you guys and hopefully draw even more attention to this amazing new addition to LFM and AC. Now, I've been playing Assetto Corsa for about 5 years. I got into it for the drifting, but then really fell in love with SRP and Toge Life servers and other open world stuff like the LA Canyons and Union Island, and it's all been awesome. But the one thing Assetto Corsa has so rarely been to me is a racing game. Which is odd, right? I mean, it was born and meant to be a racing game, but obviously mod support has been able to take it in all these new directions. And admittedly, the public online racing community in Assetto Corsa has kind of always struggled because there isn't much of a framework to it. There's no skill or safety-based matchmaking, or ranks or licenses to obtain, or anything of the sort, so it's hard for a new player to just jump into AC and find good racing. You typically will need to find a specific community to race with. So in the past, if I've wanted to jump in for some good sim racing, I typically just went somewhere else. Some communities have definitely tried to set up an accessible online racing system. You know, if you poke around in Content Manager, you'll find links to Grid Finder or Race U, and those are great, but have often struggled to find a strong global player base, and usually aren't too accessible or fully featured. So even though Assetto Corsa as a sim ticks just about every single box for me, it's rarely been able to check off arguably the most important one: racing. And my advice has always been to suggest that players head over to something like iRacing or ACC or one of the console sims if they want better, more accessible racing. That is, until now. Low Fuel Motorsport, or LFM, is a sim racing community that's been around for a while now, and has run events for R-Factor, recently WRC, and possibly most famously for ACC. And what they've done is essentially replicate everything about iRacing's multiplayer for these other games. And as of last month, they finally added support for Assetto Corsa. So now we really have the best of both worlds. The mods, physics, feedback, and third-party support that makes Assetto Corsa so good, combined with iRacing's ELO and license system, and just about everything else that comes along with that. And it tracks across games. It's one central ecosystem for everything LFM does. Finally, for me, Assetto Corsa feels like a complete experience with Low Fuel Motorsport. The whole system is super easy to set up and use. You can just link your Steam account and then make sure you have the mods for the race you want to enter, which they provide links to right here, and then simply sign up for any available race. They always have multiple practice sessions running for each event, new tracks cycle in each week, and the schedules typically work out pretty well to where there's almost always something coming up within the hour. Similar to iRacing, you start with a rookie license and an F safety rating, but as you keep driving and proving your skill and safety on track, those ratings will of course increase. And you can see here that different events will unlock at different safety ratings and licenses. Right away, you have access to 3 events no matter what. The Mazda and Clio Cups, which are both free, and then there's a VRC Touring Car Challenge, which does require that you purchase a touring car pack. This is a great entry-level lineup. Of course, iRacing does the MX-5 Cup cars as well. They're amazing to learn in, and the Clio Cup car is a super good car to learn front-wheel drive in as well. Both are amazing starter cars. And then you've got the touring cars, which are, you know, a bit of a step up, more of a true race car, more power, more handling, but still relatively easy to manage in the grand scheme of things. I do have the touring car pack, but honestly I've just been having so much fun with the MX-5s and the Clios, even though I do have almost everything else unlocked at this point. I've only raced in about a dozen events so far, but I'm just so excited to sink my teeth into this. I mean, I seriously haven't been this excited to jump into my sim rig in probably years. The racing, by and large, has been fantastic. Drivers are generally pretty clean and well skilled. You know, I've been getting put into more top splits lately, and watching the fastest drivers put down laps a full second or more faster than me is honestly just inspiring. And I'm stoked to just make it into the top 10 in Split 1, for example. There are still great mid-pack battles, and I'm having so much fun fighting for, one position here and there. The racing is just so solid, and I think one of the most important things that a good sim can do is encourage you to want to improve. And this is giving me that feeling more than just about anything else I've done so far. Now, there are definitely still some rough races, even though I have yet to see a single person intentionally ram or otherwise grief another player. You do start in beginner events and in lower splits, so people are gonna make mistakes, and I've been knocked off track a handful of times and seen my fair share of turn 1 chaos. Not to say that I'm the perfect driver myself. As I've progressed though and raised my elo, I've started getting put into higher splits, and things are much cleaner. As you move into those higher splits and higher events, the racing really does clean up, as much as I think you could expect from any drop-in sim racing event. Everyone that's played iRacing knows the rookie license struggle. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, and it certainly teaches you how to drive defensively. Genuinely though, I'm not joking when I say this is the most fun I have had in sim racing in a long time, maybe even ever. I mean, I absolutely adore AC. I think it's got overall the best feedback and physics of any sim out there. It looks great, it supports my ultra wide really well and has crew chief support, which is key. It's already the best to me at so many things, and now I can just jump into these organized race events whenever I want to have good, meaningful racing that impacts a centralized rating system. It all just feels so complete. And it still is largely just kind of for fun. The races all do matter, but it's not like each one is some massive once-in-a-year event. If you have a bad race, just cool off, get some practice, and jump right back in when the next one opens up, which is probably within an hour or so. And even if you are looking for bigger events, LFM does host a Nordschleife 24-hour race only 4 times per week that has a massive 70-player grid per split. And I've watched some other creators compete in this. It looks amazing. I'll definitely be working my way up to it in the near future, but for now, I'm pretty happy kicking around in my Clios and Miatas. I always like to try and master one thing before moving on to the next, and this has just done such a good job of putting me in my place and letting me see how good some of these alien drivers really are. Again, it just encourages me to improve. Now, this is all still very new. Like I said, AC support has only existed for about a month, so it's tough to know where this is going to end up. I mean, right now, during weekend prime time, a lot of the events are filling up completely well before race start. You will be racing on some packed grids and are going to want to sign up early, which is great, but the higher class events won't always be filling every split. And if you're a US player like me, once it hits around 4 p.m. US Central and the Europeans start heading off to bed, the player count does really fall off, and you might be racing with fewer people or people in a much wider skill range. It's worth noting that all the servers are hosted in Europe, so US players will be running a slightly higher ping. For me, it averages around 130, but AC handles that really well, and I don't really notice any sort of issues, even in close racing. I wouldn't be upset if some US servers somehow popped up if this really takes off, but obviously that's a huge undertaking. I'm just really curious and hopeful to see how this is going to keep up over time. Is it just getting started and growing as more people are finding out about it? And hopefully as people start to rank up, the higher licensed events will fill up more often. hopefully LFM continues to do a good job of managing the balance between having too much available or too little. They've already been doing a great job of it and have been adjusting splits for events that are more or less populated and have curated a really fun variety of racing, but I just really hope that it keeps up, because the more people that get involved, the better. This really has the potential to be some of the best sim racing on the market. And honestly, I think for me, it already is. I would think Kunos might be taking a look at stuff like this for AC2, which, okay, is kind of the elephant in the room here. We might still be getting AC2 this year, and I mean, really no one knows what that looks like at all, but if it does manage to capture the same experience that AC1 does, and has that strong first-party multiplayer system, well, that would be great, but it would likely mean that LFM would have to pivot off to something else, maybe hosting bigger events, for example. Of course, though, that's all just speculation, and we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. For now, I'm really happy to have this. Huge shout out to LFM for getting this all up and running. I wish them the best of luck with it. I hope it keeps doing well, and if you are at all interested in joining, please look into it. I mean, if you don't have it, you can pick up Assetto Corsa on sale for like $5 these days, and most of the LFM events are free to join, so this is perfect for budget-conscious entry-level sim folks who maybe don't want to shell out a lot of cash for iRacing, but still want a similar experience. And with that, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.